Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Not in Harmony podcast, where hopefully there won't be any more goddamn time travel since the last episode was recorded before the first episode, etc., etc. No longer will this be structured like a Christopher Nolan movie, and we can just get on with our lives. Also, the visuals are different now. We pop and stuff when we talk.
Yeah, we're cool like that now.
Yeah, now I don't have to edit our Discord The only problem is now we won't have our Discord profiles on screen, so you won't
Which
get to...
is so sad.
Yeah,
because now we won't get to see the rare occasion when Kaden changes his profile picture.
And the consistent changes that Vexen makes, where you have a different profile picture at every episode.
Literally, every time you change your profile picture, you get, like, at least 10 different DMs being like, holy shit, Kaden changed his profile picture?
Literally, my whole group chat of friends, like, started dogging on me for that. Like, when I changed to the Okarun PFP, I literally had somebody who was like, Kaden, what the fuck? What are you doing? Change back. I don't like this. I never.
What did you do?
What have you done? What have you done? It's like that scene from God of War. There are consequences for changing your profile picture. How do you know?
There are consequences.
How do you know?
Consequences for your actions.
That fucking. There are consequences to killing a god. How do you know?
We are referencing two different things right now.
Yeah, I'm referencing God of War Ragnarok, and you're referencing Sammy Classic's Sonic Kid.
I love that Sonic Kid.
That kid's that's a boy, right? I thought that was a girl for so long because their voice was so high.
I mean, puberty can do
the
most interesting of things.
It certainly can alter your voice. I mean, it did it for me. Anyway. Anyway, so today's episode will be all about Market Pliers and Iron Lung. I like saying his name in stupid ways.
Oh, like market, like marker and plier.
I saw one last night on an Instagram reel that was a guy who said, "Gave a gamer girl a hickey, call me the Markiplier."
Bruh.
That's really funny.
Yeah, for the longest, I think the most prevalent ones of his name are like Marky Moo, Marker, Plier, which is like literally like a marker and a pair of pliers.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
That people, every time something is involved with him, someone brings a pair of pliers and a marker somewhere. There are so many, but
Pliers,
I'm being put on the spot, so therefore I'm drawing a blank, and I can't remember any of them right now.
You are putting yourself on the spot with this. I didn't ask you to list them.
No, I know.
Anyway,
but I'm trying to get ahead of you, so you can't make too much fun of him.
You're gonna have a hard time with that. I can make fun of anyone.
True, but for context of everyone watching this, I am and have been a huge fan of Markiplier for years upon years. Like ever since I learned how to open the YouTube app, Markiplier has been there on my screen. And for Kaden,
I've never given a single solitary fuck about Markiplier.
Yep, there you go.
I've watched a couple of his videos here and there, but he was never one of my consistents. I think I've watched a couple of his Try Not to Laugh videos, and that's basically it. I've seen a few other things with him. I watched Edge of Sleep, the Amazon Prime version, not the original podcast, but I watched that when it came out. I thought it was pretty good. We're approaching this.
I listened to the original podcast like twice. I loved it.
We are approaching this because we're going to be talking about Iron Lung for the majority of this episode, I feel. And we're approaching this from very different places, like I've said before on my live streams. Because you are a big fan of Markiplier and not really a big horror movie person. And I am a huge horror movie person, but I don't give a shit about Markiplier. So
see, this is why we have a podcast, because we're just different.
Very.
Yes. Well, I'm pointing out the obvious here, aren't I?
Oh yeah. Anybody who knows us will know this, but the way that we're going to be structuring this is very simply, both of us are going to give our thoughts on the film in 5 words or less. And then we're going to expand on them for a little bit. We're going to go non-spoilers, and then we're going to delve into spoilers. And it's not like there's a ton to spoil in this movie, really. But, for those who want to go and see it and haven't already seen it. This is probably going to come out after the film is already out of theaters, if I'm being honest. But
most likely.
Yeah, because it's
unfortunately
it's exiting theaters pretty quickly because it's a limited release. But I saw it yesterday, and you saw it like a week ago. So
I saw it its first weekend of released. So I was part of that original 28 million. Let's go. No, 21 million. Let's go. Haha.
Did you have like a really packed theater?
I had a pretty decently filled theater, enough to have a bunch of people outside of the theater and like actively talk about it outside.
Oh wow, because
it was pretty fun.
My theater was actually pretty empty. There was only a couple other people in there.
I also went opening weekend, and Ohio is like the place where Markiplier was like kind of raised, so it's weirdly expected of Ohioans to go.
Well, Ohio and Markiplier fans, but
yeah, Ohio and Markiplier fans, but yeah.
Ohioan is such a word.
I know, it's weird.
It is
just deal with it.
No, I mean every state has that, but it's a little weird. Anyway, so format, 5 words or less. Do you want to go first? Do you have 5 words to describe your experience with this movie? 5 words or less?
If you give me a minute, yes. I have been thinking this whole time, but yes.
Good. Like I turn into Emperor Palpatine every time I say that. Good, Anakin, good.
I can hear you just like putting on the hand sanitizer as we speak.
I'm not doing that, but I'm not actually rubbing my hands together, but yes, you can hear it. Kill him. Kill him now.
All right. Okay, my 5 words. My 5 words would probably be the last 30 minutes scary.
Ooh, interesting. Mine, I can put it down into 3 words. I would describe this film overall as compelling, but ultimately tensionless. That is...
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so...
Compelling, but ultimately tensionless. Okay, that's 4. Those were big words, so I was trying to make sure.
I'm counting them out on my fingers, yeah. We're doing this by...
counting the syllables.
We're doing this by words, not syllables. Compelling, but ultimately tensionless. Now we're really in sync. We got a lot of claps in there. But, yeah, so I felt, because I'm a huge horror movie fan, and there's a lot of parts of this that I kind of looked at and went, I can understand what you're going for here, but I think my biggest problem with this movie is that overall, there's just no tension to a lot of this. And I think the big reason for that is ultimately kind of because of Markiplier. What I mean by that is that the whole structure of it being one guy in one big metal Pringles can in a blood ocean is like, anytime they kind of have like a moment of like, ooh, something might hurt him or something might attack or something. No, because if he dies, the movie ends. That's kind of, I think, my biggest problem with it is that there's a lot of something, like they kind of hint at, stuff being on the ship with him or something. And it's like, well, sure, you can't trick me though. I know that he's not going to die now because we're only 20 minutes into the movie. It's an interesting thing. I was thinking about this, and I want to I want to get your thoughts on this.
I actually really want to question you right now about what you just said, because the whole point of the movie is isolation, and the fact that he is alone down there for hours upon hours. That's he's been welded into this.
Yes, I know.
As you say, Pringles can.
It's shaped like one. It's shaped like one.
It's actually a wooden box.
The
entire thing's made of wood.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, you're not gonna make that out of metal.
I think the only thing in there that's like metal is like maybe the buttons. Whatever.
Well, probably the
But
pipes
either
and
way,
stuff are probably made to look a little bit metallic, but
yeah. Either way, I digress. It's interesting that you say like the tension doesn't really build up to much, because I think I think the movie is very satisfactory at the end, because you get to know a lot. The movie builds itself on getting to know Simon as this person, this convict who is stuck in the submarine trying to just get his freedom.
mm-hmm.
And like, obviously, oh, is he gonna die? Well, obviously he isn't. You got an extra 2 hours in the movie.
Yeah.
But even though, it's still supposed to make you feel these moments of feeling uneasy, and does it still bring that across to you, though?
I think that it had a lot of moments for me of very effective visual stuff. Like it did the long legs thing pretty well a couple times. It's not, long legs isn't the first movie to do this, but it's the example that I think of the most, which is the long legs does a really nice thing for a lot of its runtime, where for certain parts of the movie, when they're especially in really dark areas, they'll occasionally have a little bit of moving shadow in like through a window or through a doorway or something that makes you think, hey, is something there? And you're not really sure if it is or not. And that's really effective. Like there's the point kind of early on in the movie where he thinks he sees something in the ship with him. And it's effective in the sense that you see it yourself, and as a viewer you're like, oh, was that something? Shit. And it does help ratchet up the paranoia, but the big kind of deflation of a lot of that tension is like, you know, he'll be fine. You know, it's the sort of I was interested to see if you would think this is an interesting idea, but I was kind of, one of the thoughts I had going into this movie is whether or not they would do what I would refer to as a Casey Becker, which is once again another horror reference. For those of you that don't know, and don't know your 90s horror slashers the way I do, Casey Becker is a character from the original Scream film. The whole thing, if you look up Scream now, the first one, you look it up on streaming, you look up posters and stuff, the person on the front of the poster in all instances is Drew Barrymore, who played Casey Becker. During the marketing for Scream and all the trailers and all the posters, she was front and center, and it made everyone who went into the theater think she's going to be the lead of this movie. She dies in the opening scene. She is the opening kill of the movie. She's the girl who picks up the phone at the start, talks to Ghostface, and gets gutted. And it created a really interesting experience for moviegoers at the time, where they were like, oh, I went into this thinking this would be Drew Barrymore doing a Scream Queen thing, and she dies at the beginning, so now it feels like anyone could go. You know? It makes the whole thing feel like anything can really happen. And I think that's really effective. And I kind of wondered at one point during this if they would potentially do something similar with this, where maybe you go into the movie thinking it's going to be all about Markiplier and all about him down there, and then maybe something happens and maybe you do switch perspectives to somebody else for a little while. I think that could have been a really interesting idea. They did not ultimately go with that, but I think it could have been an interesting idea, honestly. Especially since they play a lot with the idea that they're lying to him with the idea that he's the first one going down here, but yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree that that'd be kind of a cool idea, but that would kind of also maybe play a disservice to the actual game itself. Because in the game of Iron Lung, you are sent down there basically being told already that you're the first person, and you're just fucking thrown straight into it.
Oh yeah, the game just plays the isolation
throws you straight into it too.
Yeah, the game plays the. I think the thing is though is that games and movies do horror differently, and it's actually, I think this movie is an interesting case study on adapting a video game, and specifically adapting a game that plays on the player's sense of isolation and the idea that you're essentially flying blind in a big metal box is part of the terror of the game. And it's one of those things that doesn't translate. It's one of the things that I was really curious about going into this was I don't think that translates cleanly into a movie, because with films you usually have dialogue, you have multiple people, you know, If the movie was all like the thing that I kind of say about this is like if the movie was all him down here by himself the whole movie, it would suck. You need to have him communicate with other people occasionally, and it's why I think that probably one of my other takes on this is that the middle section of this movie, there's a whole chunk in the middle where he's cut off.
Let's make sure we're not spoiling just yet.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I was gonna say there's a whole chunk in the middle of this movie where you don't really get a lot of him talking to anyone else, and that whole section I feel was really too long, and I think a lot of it was one of the I didn't really look at a lot of reviews going into this, but I did feel like a lot like the one thought I had from a couple different people online was you could have cut like a lot of stuff out of this and made it flow better. I think the pacing is just kind of, it drags really hard in the middle, especially. And that once again contributes to that lack of tension that I think kind of hurts the film overall, because it is compelling. Like I said, I do find the mystery around the quiet rapture and the stuff that they talk about, I do find that stuff very interesting. I would say that if you're going into this movie hoping for a big lore reveal on the Iron Lung universe and you're hoping for big answers, temper your expectations, because they don't exactly answer everything, and I'm kind of glad that they don't.
The one thing that they do answer, but that's spoiler, I won't get into that. But I actually wanted to ask in comparison, because I haven't seen anyone else bring this up yet, at least as far as my research has reached. Have you heard of the game Presentable Liberty?
Nope.
Okay. I think I've shown it to you before, but it's basically the same exact, it's not the same exact, but it's pretty similar to Iron Lung in the way that its horror is presented to you. You are told, or you wake up in a cell, and you are told that you are the only surviving human left because you are the cure to this virus that is spreading out in the world, because everyone is getting sick all of a sudden, and you are the only human who is either immune or you are the cure to the sickness.
You're
and
Ellie from The Last of Us, just in a cage, yeah.
Just in a cage. But this game is hours upon hours long. Maybe not hours long, but it's maybe like 2 hours long. And you have to play on this little, like, snake game as you receive letters throughout the game. And you have to, you build these connections with these characters that you never see face to face.
That's cool. I like that.
It's really good. And Mark played that game too. It's very similar in the actual horror aspect, comparing it to Iron Lung. And I wonder if he actually took any inspiration from Presentable Liberty when it came to that, because you're sitting there alone for hours on end.
Yeah.
And you're basically doing the same thing while in the Iron Lung. So,
well, I think it's an interesting, like I said before, I think this is a really interesting case study on this, because one of the things about stuff like that is isolation can be played very differently in a video game, because you put the player in to this situation. It's one of the things that's interesting about this movie is that you're always going to have a slightly different perspective when you're watching a film versus when you're playing a game. It's one of the reasons that horror films do not affect me the way horror games do. Horror, especially games, they put you in this situation and say you need to deal with this, as opposed to in horror films where you're seeing somebody else in this situation and maybe you think about how you would deal with this situation, but you're always going to be viewing it from an outsider's perspective as opposed to being in the game, in the shit, in the thing.
It's flight and fight response.
Fight
basically.
or flight response, yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, this has a lot of I think this has a lot of effective moments for horror direction, and I need to remember the names of the people responsible. I want to look this up actually.
Yeah, we should have a credits list in front of us.
Yeah, I was looking specifically at the people that I wanted to mention as because I would like to say that one thing I really liked about this was casting actual voiceover actors for some of the
Yes.
the radio roles. I really appreciated, I'm okay, hearing Troy Baker in this was pretty funny, honestly.
I was not expecting Troy Baker either, but I'm so happy that we got him.
Apparently Jacksepticeye is in here too.
Yes, he played that's spoiler territory. I can't
Kind
say
of spoiler
who yet.
territory.
But yes, he's in it.
Yeah. Troy
Which is
Baker.
interesting.
Troy Baker, and I really liked Carolyn Kaplan, who played she's the main voice on the radio that you'll hear for a lot of the film. Won't say the name or anything, but I thought she did a really good job. Where is the crew? Where is the crew part of it? Producers, composer. Philip Roy was the director of photography for this movie. And I think that he did an excellent job with a lot of the visuals. In some places felt very Doom to me. They felt like they really reminded me of the industrial metallic feel of the 2016 Doom, especially like that depth like meter, that thing that like shows on the wall how deep into the blood ocean he is. That really that looked very visually similar to me. It's lower tech, but it reminded me a lot of the console on the elevator in the first Doom. There's a great little bit in it's not the first Doom, the 2016 Doom. You know the one.
Yeah.
There's a great bit in that.
Excuse me.
There's a great little bit in that when you're in the elevator for the first time going out of the first level, where the robot guy, whose name eludes me right now, is telling the Doomslayer, like, oh, this is all, you need to, listen to me, and what happened isn't our fault. And as he's talking, the Doomslayer is just looking at his own hands, and then he just smashes the console to pieces. He just smashes it. And it's so, right as he cracks it open, it cuts to the title card. It's great. But that, for some reason, that console really reminded me of that. For some reason, the depth gauge really reminded me of that. For some reason,
I like how they altered the console in the actual like adaptation of the movie in comparison to the game, because in the game it's just button up, button down, button left, button right, and in the game in the movie they actually like, oh, you turn this a little bit and it'll actually turn the fins, and you do this lever and you go forward.
Yeah, that works a lot better, especially visually. I liked the set design a lot. I think they did a really good job with the Pringles can. It looked really good.
Are we just referring to it as the Pringles can now?
The Iron Pringles can. That's what I'm calling it.
All right, cool. I you know what? I can get behind that.
Yeah. I thought the set design and stuff looked really nice. I liked the console that they had.
I loved how realistic the condensation looked.
I also really liked the on screen, like the console visuals for the computer gave me very like, it reminded me like, it's a little higher tech. It's like 16-bit compared to 8-bit, but it reminded me a little bit of Mother, the artificial central computer from Alien. It had that very kind of like, this is what people thought the future would look like in 1970,
Yeah, and I didn't mind it all that much because I've been watching a lot of like early 2000s and like 1990s media recently, and I've been really enjoying a lot of the earlier styles of media, or how earlier CGI and earlier ways of editing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just on a nostalgic track recently.
I'm just personally,
but I get it.
I'm personally a big fan of the retro futurist aesthetic. The stuff like Alien, Blade Runner. That kind of like how we thought the future would look before we had things like the internet and we knew how the future, because the future is now, old man.
Pretty much.
I really did like the look of a lot of it. I think overall it's actually a really good looking film. And once again, the director of photography, Philip Roy, and also Andrew Hulshult, I believe, is the composer. pretty good music overall. It didn't feel intrusive, but it felt really good. And the production design by Iman Korbani as well. Very nicely designed. Everything was yes?
Could you... Sorry. I was going to ask if you could say the person's name again for the person who made music.
The composer, Andrew Hulshult, I believe.
Andrew Hulshult. Andrew H.
Andrew H. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Please forgive me if I'm not. But he did an excellent job. Everybody involved... Valkyrie is in this? Hold on.
I think she was a supporter.
Yeah, she's listed as additional voices.
Oh yeah, that's spoiler.
Well,
but I wanted to quickly say for a fun fact, and I don't know if this is common during movies, but while Markiplier was in the Pringles can, Andrew was on set physically like playing the music as they were shooting the scenes. That's when he was actually writing the music. There's pictures of it on his Instagram, actually.
That's funny.
Like I said, I've been stalking all of their social medias just for this episode.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I told you.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the IMDb. Do we want to move into spoilers?
I would love to talk spoilers now.
All right, so
I feel like we've been talking non-spoilers for enough.
Everybody who has not seen the film and does not want to be spoiled, the door is right there. Do not let it pat you on the butt cheek on the way out. And we are now going to talk about spoilers. So,
yes.
incidentally,
wait, hold on. Before we do talk spoilers,
mm-hmm.
Your genuine consensus of the movie, do you like it?
It's okay. I think my overall thoughts on it, because I was actually the thing that I think the one little bit of bias that might get in my brain a little bit is this is not the first horror film made by a YouTuber I have watched. Specifically the Raka brothers, or the Philippou brothers. I don't remember how to pronounce their last name. They're two Australian guys. They have actually made 2 horror films. They have made both Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, which I would say are both excellent horror films. I loved both of those movies. Specifically, Talk to Me, it was one of my favorite movies of that year, and Bring Her Back, which was last year, has maybe one of the best scares I've seen in a horror movie in many, many years. It had some really effective moments in there. And I don't think this film necessarily compares well to them, but it is decent. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Incidentally, my Letterboxd review of this will actually play into my other big thing that I want to say about this in spoilers.
It's funny that you bring up Letterboxd because of 3 out of 5, because that's the same exact score that H Bomber guy gave it.
Really? I want to find his Letterboxd because I think he'd be worth following.
Well, I think he only created Letterboxd to leave a review on Iron Lung.
God damn it, H-Bomb. Hold on. H Bomber guy, Iron Lung review. H Bomber guy's activity on Letterboxd. There it is. He gave it 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Okay, I was close. It's a really long review. I definitely...
Yeah, it starts talking about Gundam? What the fuck?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he did not make this account for Iron Lung. He has activity before that.
He does? Okay. Oh, end of recent activity. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell I've never used this site before?
Yeah, okay. Okay, here's the funny thing. Recent reviews. Iron Lung, Tank Girl, Sally Gardner at a Gallop. Okay, that's really funny, actually. His oldest review... I just want to explain this bit because this is hilarious. His review, 1/2 star for the movie War Horse. Absolute trash propaganda. Horses aren't even real, but the horse lobby would tell you they helped win World War I. Let that sink in. That is a hilarious bit, because that's a bit from one of his old YouTube videos. I think it's his climate change deniers video, where he says he says that, I've decided that horses aren't real, and it's been a recurring bit in his videos that horses aren't fucking real.
Jesus Christ, that's so funny.
That's hilarious. That really cracks me the fuck up. Anyway, moving into spoilers. That's the funniest joke in this episode. It's not even mine. Fuck.
All right. So I have a my first little fun fact. We're going to do Vexen's fun facts during the spoiler part of territory here, because I can actually reveal everything here. So, Vexen's fun facts. The first few lines of dialogue spoken within the movie are the same exact words that Markiplier spoke in his gameplay of the
Yeah, it's like the opening
game
text scroll
Iron
from the
Lung 2.
game, isn't it?
No. I'm not talking about dialogue of the actual game. I'm talking about what Simon says. Yeah, I'm talking about what Simon says in the game.
I just think that I want to point out
or in the movie.
That can't be 100% accurate because he doesn't open the movie by saying, "Hello, everybody, my name is Markiplier."
Well, obviously.
Incidentally, that is probably the thing that got the most laughs in my theater, was that he's credited in the movie as Markiplier, not Marcus Fishbach. So it says at the end, written and directed by Markiplier. And everyone giggled a little.
I found that one a little interesting.
That cracked me up a little bit, but...
it was a little funny. But yeah, no, the first few lines of dialogue are the first few words that he says in reaction to the actual in-game dialogue to the game.
That's cool.
That's my first fun fact.
That's cool. So, spoilers. Going into spoilers, what did you think? Because I want to point out my biggest issue with this film, other than its pacing, I kind of hated the ending. I'm gonna be real with you. I thought the ending sucked.
I fucking knew it. I knew you were gonna hate the ending.
Why do you think I hated the ending?
Because of the shaky cams. I knew you weren't going to like the shaky cams, and I knew that you weren't going to like how
impossible it is to everything is to see at the end. Yeah.
Yes.
That is my review of Letterboxd on Letterboxd. It said, hold on, let me directly quote myself here so I don't.
I did not read his Letterboxd review before this, by the way.
Oh yeah, I don't even think you have a Letterboxd account.
No, I don't.
Yeah. My review of it said, "Can't see a fucking thing, man. What the hell is happening?" Because that is kind of my experience with the last, couple minutes of this is, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, the shaky cam at the end is a little bit much.
A little?
Actually, no. A lot of bit much. I'm so sorry, Mark. But the thing is, though... The thing is even with the shaky cam at the end, I love the scenes where he's crawling through the blood, because it looks so fucking cool. You can tell when he was either genuinely kind of struggling with the blood a little bit, or when he really falls into the character. And I think that Markiplier is definitely more of a method actor, because towards the beginning of the movie, he gets a lot of help from other actors. He goes up within the first, I think, 45 minutes of the movie to go talk to Ava, who is not the captain, but
She's the captain, yeah. I think she is, at least.
I don't want to say captain, but she runs the place up there for COI.
Yeah, she's the person who's the most in charge out of everyone.
At least at that ranking. There are people above her, obviously, but she makes the choices for what's going on around there. At least he goes up to see Ava, and the thing that I had, my biggest gripe about the movie was the fact that Mark needed to be a really strong actor in the beginning, right?
I think,
and it just kind of wasn't really there for me personally. But then as the movie went on, I was really able to fall in love. That's why I kind of really disagree with a lot of people who say, oh, well, there are some parts that you can kind of wipe here and there. And I would kind of really disagree, because a lot of the shots with the wiping the blood on his thigh and visualizing the monocle, the broken monocle on his wrist, it shows visually how much he is losing his sanity over time throughout the entire thing. And it also, it puts a timer on the movie, basically.
Well, I would say that one of the things about the criticism that you can cut stuff from this is, I heavily agree with that. I think there's a lot that should have been left on the cutting room floor for this movie. And I get why they didn't cut some of it. And I think a big portion of it is some of this was very hard to film, and some of this was very hard to create, and probably cost a lot. And there's that kind of aspect of like, we put a lot of effort into this, so we can't cut it now because that's just a waste. And things like, now that we're into spoilers and I can talk about this, things like the weird creepy fish man that looks like one of Davy Jones' crew from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. That guy just doesn't really need to be there. And like, those are good scares, and I like the bit where he sees him at the start, and I like the bit where he's in the little crawl space underneath and the shadow moves. And like, that was actually one of my favorite bits of visual scare in the film.
Oh yeah, no, that was really good.
That felt very Longlegs to me. That felt very much like something I would have seen in Longlegs, because Longlegs had a lot of like, yeah, there's like a bit in that where the main character is in like a library researching, and you get a shot out the window into the darkness, and you can kind of see something move just a little bit, and it's like, am I fucking crazy? Or was that a goat head? You know, because there's a bunch of hidden, because the movie's very satanic and has a lot of satanic imagery and stuff. There's a lot of hidden, like, ram head Satan imagery that's just, it's very difficult to see. It's almost like a Scott Cawthon teaser. You would honestly want to brighten the film up if you wanted to properly see it.
Yeah.
But the fact it's so difficult to see is what makes it work. The thing that I would say about stuff like that is that there's, you know, you get to like the point, the third time that you see creepy fish guy, which is when he sees him at the desk, at the console, and then it goes back and he hides for a second, and then he comes back out, and it's slow, and it just doesn't, it's a fake out. It doesn't really do anything. And some of this, I think, there's chunks of this movie that I just feel like it's trying to do a lot of this kind of slow build tension, and it would work, but, you know, I've already talked about why I don't think the tension in this film works especially well. But at a point, it just kind of feels like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, this could be not necessarily cut out, but shortened down. I think, like, one of the real things I would say about this in terms of critique is there's a great 90-minute movie in here that just is 2 hours long for no reason.
Okay. I could see it. I could see where you're coming from for that. I personally still think I even with all your criticisms, I'm still taking it with, I like the product that was released in the end. I loved all of the details, because I don't know, maybe
I would say that, like I said, I think I don't dislike this film. I think it worked pretty well for the most part. I just think that there's a more refined, cleaner, and potentially scarier version of this that you could have gotten through more concise editing.
I could see that, yeah. Like trimming a few things here and there.
Yeah, trimming down.
I kind of also really appreciate a nice slow burn, because I love stories with lots of character development and lots of honestly, very obvious lore that I don't have to go digging too deep down. Like finding out that the camera was actually an X-ray machine, and the fact that Markiplier... Oh my god.
I want to point something out about that kind of annoyed me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not about the irradiating the people.
Okay.
The fact that it's that makes perfect sense. It's a radiation-based camera. It's basically an X-ray. When you see the creatures that are down in the blood ocean, when you see like the big fat blobfish thing, it has eyes. Why does it have eyes? It wouldn't need eyes. It wouldn't see through light. It would be something that sees through. If it's like evolved to live down here, which it seems to have, it wouldn't have eyeballs like that, I don't think. I think that could have been a really interesting and creative way to visualize something like that, is a creature that maybe, kind of like a bat, kind of like echolocation, how it doesn't really have eyeballs because it doesn't really need them. Maybe the only real thought is that maybe if you did kind of take its face and just take the eyes off, maybe it would look too much like a fat xenomorph, but I don't know.
I mean, it is kind of supposed to be like an eldritch horror sort of like thing, so it can have them and it could be totally useless.
Well, yeah, but eldritch horrors don't really work in the sense that, like, their designs don't make sense for where they are, I mean... the whole idea of a lot of eldritch monsters.
Look back to the eldritch horror that you and I tried to create.
Yeah, but we're amateurs.
It had a mirror for a face.
We got rid of that eventually, but that was also visual representation for what it was and how it came through. It attacked people through screens and stuff. This the eyes don't really mean anything here. They're just kind of a thing that's just kind of an oddity. And you could I think you could expand on that if you really wanted to, that maybe that's not how the creature sees, but maybe they have another function. That you could totally do something like that. The film does not do that. It is an interesting idea, but I think ultimately it was just kind of because that's the design they settled on. And that's fine. I don't hate the design. It looks fine. And you never really see it in detail.
It is also the design that the game creator came up with, too.
Yeah. Sure, but that doesn't really matter. He can change it.
I mean, it kind of does
No,
if you're
doesn't.
trying to pay tribute to a video game.
He worked on the movie.
Created.
The guy, you could change, what's his name? David. What's his name? Oh God, I need to look up his name again.
Starts with an S. Starts with an
S. It's really Russian sounding. Where?
I
David
just saw something on
Zemansky.
Instagram about
David
the render
Zemansky.
of the actual creature itself.
David Zemansky.
David Zemansky. Okay.
He's also a writer on the film. Like he had creative input here. I mean, obviously he did. Markiplier's not going to make something like this without, crediting the what was interesting? It's an interesting thing. Seems like video game horror adaptations are going to become a bit of a thing. Fucking, what was that?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I noticed that.
My PC made a noise, and but yeah, no, because I was going to say about that. One of the trailers I got in front of this movie was The Mortuary's Assistant, which is also a video game adaptation. I got a lot of horror trailers before this that I hadn't seen before. I was quite happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one that really, I don't know if you got it, but there was a trailer for a movie that I got called, I got a trailer for a movie called Hokum.
No, I didn't get that one.
It was a weird ass trailer. It was like stupidly quick cut. It was like literal blink and you miss it shots from the film while it spelled out the name Hokum. It was
interesting.
It was very interesting, and especially because it had the orange flag of it was that it said, "From the studio that brought you Longlegs and the producers of Weapons." And it's like, so what about the creatives behind the movie? Like, studios and producers, sure, but like, what about the people who actually do the fucking work?
Yeah.
Like, Oz Perkins ain't making this thing, and it certainly isn't fucking, fuck. Oh my God, why am I forgetting everyone's name today? Oh my God.
Because names are important, and God forbid.
Zach Kreger, that's the one. The guy who made Weapons, and also Barbarian, which I thought was really good. I thought both of those movies were pretty good. He's doing a Resident Evil movie next, so...
Oh my God, sign me up. Let's go.
I think it'll be good just because Zach Kreger actually can do horror and intertwine it with comedy really well.
I love Resident Evil too much, man.
The thing is, Resident Evil is such a cursed franchise when it comes to films because they've made so many shitty Resident Evil films.
I know. That's why I said I'm ready. I'm ready for this to either be a huge ass flop or an amazing fucking peak movie.
I trust Zach Cregger to make something good. I've liked both of his previous films.
I'm watching you, Zach.
Yeah. But anyway, we've gotten a little off topic now. Going back to Iron Lung, I think, when it comes to oh my god, I was talking about the ending, right? I was saying something about the ending. Yeah.
I think so.
yeah. I was saying how the ending was incomprehensible, and I think the biggest problem with it is that I understand wanting the film to get this kind of. I kind of didn't mind like the psychological aspects of it, where you find out that like the voice on the radio that was Elsie Lovelock's voice was actually a hallucination, and you have the whole bit where he sees the light or whatever it is that he's like when he's like tied down in the blood ocean and covered in blood, and like some of that looked a little hokey. Some of it looked a little like, hey, this is where the budget ran out, kind of didn't look as great.
I feel like that's what they spent all the budget on.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like that, and the bit at the end when he kind of like, I guess, blows up the ship and kills the creature. Whatever the fuck was going on at the end there, because like there's a point in there.
Yeah.
There's a point in there.
I think the movie deserves a rewatch, honestly. I think for me personally it deserves a rewatch.
I think one of the things I want to see if you can answer this, because I went to see this with my dad and I asked him this. I said, there's a point in there where he yells about, you want the butcher, and he throws some kind of, like, he throws a blow at something, like he's attacking something. I still don't know what he was hitting.
Oh, he was hitting one of the little like growths that were leaching into the machine.
Okay,
into the Pringles can.
Because I couldn't see fucking shit during any of that. Like during like the majority of like the last like 5 minutes of this movie, especially, it's just you can't hear or see anything that's fucking happening. And I get that they want to create this kind of era of confusion, and I understand that, but at a point it turns into visual and auditory vomit, and I just don't care. And it's like, okay, what is happening?
It is a lot to take in at the end, especially after such a slow burn for the rest of the movie. I mean, it's definitely not a movie for everybody.
Oh God,
and
no.
I think both a lot of the Markiplier community and Mark himself is extremely like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely not a movie for everybody. No, not everyone's gonna like it. But the fact that I even did this and the movie's even out there in the first place, completely independently published, is an accomplishment.
Yeah, no, it is nice that he was able to get this out there. I do think that the one thing I have seen people saying that I think is silly is people saying that, oh, Hollywood is so scared of this or whatever, which is like that's not true. I feel like that's a very uninformed take to have on it, because if I'm being completely honest with you, if you look at like the history of blockbusters, it's very easy to figure out what Hollywood executives are thinking when they look at this movie. They're not thinking, "Oh shit, we're getting taken down by an independent film." They're going, "Ayo, Larry, new patch notes just dropped. YouTubers are the new meta. We got to start putting YouTubers in movies." That's what they're thinking.
They already tried that, technically. They tried that back when Vine went down, and then a bunch of Viners made like this big camping movie, and that fucking went to shit.
Actually, there's a couple. You know what's a weird one? This is gonna sound super weird. Have you ever heard of the movie Greenland?
No.
It is a terrible movie. It's a terrible movie with Gerard Butler about the world ending because of a meteorite, and him and his family are trying to get to the only safe bunker in Greenland or whatever. King Batch is in that movie. Mr.
King Batch is in the camper movie too.
No, King Batch is in Greenland. Mr. That Backflip, though, and he actually gives probably the best performance in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in one scene, and it's probably the best scene in the movie. It's like Gerard Butler getting captured by some people, and King Batch is one of the people in the back of the truck with him, and they talk for a little bit, and he kind of connects with this guy, and the guy it tells him that one of the struggles in his life is that he was gay, and he was playing a gay dude. And then when they escape and there's all this gunfire, he ends up getting shot and dying. But it's like it was kind of a nice guy. He actually did a decent job, performance-wise.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that's really weird that King Batch was probably. I mean, it's not hard to act better than Gerard Butler, but it is nice that he was able to do it. Maybe it sounds a little mean, but fuck Gerard Butler.
Oh, goodness.
I don't like that guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Markiplier community is full of a bunch of trolls. If you haven't noticed the whole #1 movie thing going around,
no.
Well, the numbers technically do prove us to be the #1 movie of its opening weekend. Fuck you, send help. Technically, not really.
Hey, I want to see that movie. That's a Sam Raimi film. I want to see that shit. Looks good.
No. No, like I said, I say that jokingly.
I know.
During the entire weekend of opening weekend, Mark was live like almost every other day, being like, come on, let's fucking go. Let's do this. #1 movie. And then like by the end of the weekend, he's like, hey, if you got some time, maybe it would be really cool is if like you went and you got some buddies and you went to go see a movie tonight. And that was right after I had saw Iron Lung in the actual theaters itself. Literally, he started live streaming right after I got out of the theater.
That's funny.
Vincent and I were getting gas at a Costco. And that's when he himself read the H-Bomber Guy review on his stream.
Oh, that's funny.
Not all of it. But that's how I found out about it.
Yeah. God, when is
And-
H-Bomb uploading again, man? Fuck.
God, if I know.
I know.
It should be soon, though, because I did hear there was something coming up soon.
Oh, I know what his next video is. I check his. I don't. So I'm
like-
not a patron of his, but I do check his Patreon. His next video is called "Adobe Must Die," so I already know it's gonna be the most base thing to ever exist.
Oh, yeah, no, especially with all that stuff
He's
recently.
so
but
real.
we'll see.
Fuck Adobe.
He really is. Anyway.
I say after I'm gonna go edit this in Premiere Pro.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hate Adobe,
But-
man.
What I'm trying to say is watching that live stream right after having seen the movie, I saw a man being so genuinely open and so genuinely proud of his craft and what he had done. And maybe that's why I love the movie just a little bit too much. And it's just so heartwarming to finally see someone putting so much effort into something and getting that response back. And
I will
basically
say,
being like, you believed. And as someone who creates stuff, you and I, we voice act, we create Silver Symphony together, we work
make
on these
stuff,
projects together, and
I will say,
watching that
I kind of
in
think
such a big scale in comparison to what we do, it's amazing.
I will
And
say
it's
that is
it's
kind
so
of
heartwarming.
that is kind of one of the things that's like that's mainly because he's a YouTuber. You know, I mean, every filmmaker generally is going to be very passionate about their things. You just don't see them talking about their successes as publicly because Markiplier is a public personality. You know, it's kind of the big difference.
Well, I know, but isn't that kind of like the difference between just like a random filmmaker and a YouTuber? It's like I
The
don't know, I
fact
just
you
think
can be
it's cool.
parasocial with them, yeah, that is a big difference. That is something that I think is going to be an interesting potential ripple of this movie. Are Hollywood executives going to try and start exploiting the parasocial relationship people have with content creators to try and get movies to sell? Because realistically, that's one of the big reasons this movie made as much as it did. It's not necessarily because people are excited to support an independent filmmaker. It's because they're excited to support Markiplier because they like Markiplier.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously.
And I can totally agree with that. I see that.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that's why I make the joke about new patch notes just drop meta as YouTubers now because that's what that's what every major blockbuster has done. Every single major blockbuster, if you look throughout the history of films, like the biggest example is obviously Star Wars. when Star Wars came out in 77, that was an indie filmmaker creating his passion project. And the lesson that Hollywood executives learned from that wasn't we should let artists make their art. It was space. Everyone wants movies in space. We got to start putting things in space, man. Fucking Masters of the Universe and Flash Gordon and fucking what's the other one? Starship Troopers. Make that movie. Make the space movie.
Buzz Lightyear. Just, people want that movie, right?
Okay, that's actually a result of the expanded universe craze. It's we need lore. We need things to connect to other things. It's Hollywood cannibalizing itself. Oh my god. I saw that Lightyear movie. It was shit. Fucking garbage.
As much as I will say, I am kind of scared that Hollywood might do that.
Oh, they will.
I also think that a lot of people are still, depending on the content creator they choose, it might backfire.
Oh, it will, because the thing is that it's entirely going to depend on, like I said, it's how parasocial are people with this creator. People are very, very passionate about Markiplier. He is one of those creators where his fans will crucify you for being negative about him, and like you just like people treat him like internet Jesus, you know? If he makes a movie, that's millions of people who will go out to see that movie and talk their friends into seeing that movie and talk their family into seeing that movie with them. That is so guaranteed. You know, it's the same thing, you know, Jacksepticeye is doing a movie now too. He's adapting Blood Meridian, which is a novel. He's not in it, as far as I know. I think he's just executive producing it. But having his name on the can, having his name on the back of the box, will absolutely sell tickets because millions of people really like him.
It's why they make like all these kids movies with like, Chris Pratt and Margot Robbie.
Well, I wouldn't say that's quite the same because they're not YouTubers, but I think I think one of the
you get where I'm coming from though, right?
Well,
you know, because like
I think with a lot of it, it's like with people like Chris Pratt, he's a name, you know, he's a famous person. But I think what they're really going to start looking for is that intimate relationship people form with content creators. Because one of the things about somebody like Markiplier compared to somebody like Chris Pratt is Chris Pratt is a big famous celebrity that appears in multi-million-dollar films, whereas Markiplier is a guy people mostly know for YouTube videos, and the connection with a creator and a viewer on YouTube is much smaller scale, and as a result, it feels more personal for people. You know, you're sitting alone in a dark room by yourself watching a guy play a horror game. You know, that feels a lot more like you're in it with that person than watching an actor play a character in a horror film, you know?
Yeah, that's true too. But my biggest thing is that the reason why I said it kind of depends on what content, on who they choose content creator wise, if they are going to start like planting content creators, or if they're going to start using content creators on if it's independent or not. Because another reason why they're celebrating Mark's success so much is, or I shouldn't say Mark's success because it's not just him. Yeah. It's Iron Lung's success. Let me try and fix myself. The reason why they're celebrating Iron Lung's success so much, god damn it, I can't speak, is because it's a 100% independently distributed, funded movie. No big companies are helping him here. That is what is quote-unquote scaring Hollywood here.
I kind of don't agree with that because I feel like if this film had been picked up and distributed by a major studio like a Warner Brothers or a Sony, I don't think that would be a reason for people to not, especially fans, to not see the film. You know? It's...
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing. No, I'm just saying that's another reason why they are celebrating it.
Well, that's one of the reasons that people are... But it's kind of like what I said. These people are happy... A lot of people who are enjoying this and celebrating this movie are very happy that a creator they like is able to push his way into independent filmmakers. But a lot of like Markiplier fans aren't going to look at this and go, I should start looking for small indie creators or small independent filmmakers to start supporting. I don't see it really igniting a lot of people's passion for indie films or anything, because at the end of the day, Markiplier is not a, he's not a major person in the film industry, but he's also somebody who does absolutely have the resources to make these things way more than the majority of small-time independent creators. I mean, having a platform on a place like YouTube does give you a huge leg up in getting into the film industry,
Yeah.
Because he's not even the first one.
does.
Like I said before, he's not even the first person to do it, considering the Raka Raka brothers and their two. I don't know. They weren't independently produced or independently distributed, because Talk to Me was shown at an Australian film festival. They put it into a film festival, and it got picked up by A24. And I actually don't know if A24 also distributed Bring Her Back, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think... Maybe they did. I don't remember.
I would have to look it up.
But
and
either
I've
way-
looked up too much.
Yeah, no more looking up now.
You can't stop me.
We're done citing our sources.
You're never done citing your sources.
But I don't know. I guess this is just where we will just genuinely disagree, because I think it will spark some people's interest, because there are lots of starting points for a lot of people. And I genuinely believe that this will spark a lot of people's interest to start looking at more independent films and more independent creations in general.
Maybe.
Because not only is... Huh?
I said it maybe for some few people. I just don't think it'll be like a huge shift or anything. I don't think it'll be like...
Well, no, I'm not saying it's going to be a huge shift, but I'm definitely saying that there's definitely going to be some inspiration.
Maybe.
Not
Here and
only
there.
just because of Mark's movie, but because of studios like Glitch and a lot of other indie creations.
I don't know if you want to bring up Glitch right now. They're under a lot of criticism
They are,
recently.
yeah. But I bring them up because they're the most relevant.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of... I think in some cases, when you look, depending on how you look at it, the success of indie projects like this, or independent projects like this, can be either very inspiring or in some cases very dissuading to people wanting to go out and make their own art. Because that you do get that kind of, anybody can make a film and anybody can get it released as long as you have millions of fans and millions of dollars and a huge platform and a lot of pre-existing success. It's one of the one of the...
Mark's worked years to get those.
Yeah, he has worked years to get them, but the fact is he has them. Like, he didn't go into the... Like, it's the thing that, a lot of people... one of the few things I looked at when it comes to the response to this when it came out was people saying, can we stop treating Markiplier like a downtrodden underdog? Because, he's not. He not saying that he didn't work years and years and years to get where he is, and that he hasn't been around creating content for years, but he didn't just start when he made Iron Lung. He's been... No, he didn't. He's been doing acting and directing and creation and content creation for years, and the fact that he's had a huge amount of success and a huge amount of money is a big part of why he's able to go into this. A lot of people who go into acting or direction without the financial cushion of millions of dollars from Five Nights at Freddy's videos. It's the whole idea that, a lot of people don't realize that the majority of actors are doing it as a secondary job. A lot of small-time actors, especially, there's a lot more actors who are struggling to make ends meet than people who are your Chris Pratts or your Brad Pitts or your Margot Robbies, who make millions of dollars off of every project they do. For every one of those, there are a dozen more that are just playing extras in those movies. Markiplier does inherently have the advantage that, when he gets cast in his first major feature film, he's also the writer and director, and he can cast himself as the lead role,
I mean, yeah, but I don't know, maybe just because, no, I'm not going to sell myself short by saying this. I feel like he deserves it, personally. I feel like he is someone who has earned the right to work hard. He's worked hard through all these years to, I don't know, direct his own movie and
I'm not saying he doesn't like
spend $3
deserve to
million
do it.
to do that.
I'm not saying he doesn't
Yeah.
deserve to do it. I'm just saying that there is the inherent, it's not a pull yourself up by your bootstraps success. It's not like he went into this without a huge amount of resources and
Yeah, I'm not saying he didn't.
no, I'm just saying that, when you talk about independent film, it's sort of the same conversation that was had around the Game Awards with Claire Obscure and people talking about how it shouldn't have been nominated or won for Best Independent Game when, sure, it didn't have a publisher, but it did have a budget of nearly, like $1 million and funding from both NetEase and the French government. Like, yeah.
I guess there is kind of a little bit of a gray area where independent begins and independent
There's
ends.
a giant fucking chasm when it comes to that. Because when you talk about an indie project, some people mean a thing that a few people created with a camera and the space in their backyard and a multi-million-dollar film created by a millionaire content creator and everybody that he was able to get on board with it. There's a massive difference between, a couple of art school or film school students getting a camera crew of their friends together and paying them with a pizza party and
extremely. Okay, I'll
Markiplier
pay you with
making a
beers
film.
and pizza.
I'll pay you with pizza. You know what? I'd work for pizza. Do not start giving me pizza for my lines and
don't
stuff.
Quote him.
Don't quote me on that. I do like money because money can be turned into pizza via paying for it, but
Via me paying for it at my own discretion.
and I don't want to eat too much pizza. I had Taco Bell yesterday. I'm already
He's at his junk food limit for the week.
yeah. But yeah,
We just started body shaming you, Kaden.
I'm not even fat. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm in
No,
pretty...
you're not. You're like the skinniest guy I know.
I'm in pretty good shape. I'm trying to get into better shape, but I was gonna go for my run today, but it's raining outside.
Oh, lucky. It's still fucking snowy as hell over here.
I would take snow over rain. You kidding me?
I'd take rain over snow any day.
Ugh.
I
Anyway.
like the warmth.
Oh God, no. I love cold weather. I like the cozy vibe. I like being bundled up and warm, and everything else is freezing. When it's warm out, it's hard to stay cool. But when it's cold out, I like staying warm.
I miss California.
Okay. So getting back to Iron Lung, is there any other?
Yeah.
Is there any other? Because we're probably gonna cut some of that. Getting back to Iron Lung, do you have any major final thoughts on it?
Overall, genuine thoughts. I loved it. I kind of like the slow burn. Maybe it's just because I get to look at a shirtless Mark halfway through the film. And I kind of get going, but whatever. It's
Oh
fine.
yeah, I immediately when I saw him shirtless, I was like, yeah, there's an extra point on Vexen's score. I know what you are.
No, you literally don't understand. Because as I was watching the movie, I was thinking like, okay, beginning narration, check. Kaden hates that. Shaky cam, check. Kaden hates that.
What? Okay, I didn't dislike the beginning narration. I thought that was fine.
I remember you saying something like how you hate narration in the beginning of films. So
No, I hate overuse of narration in films.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Maybe
mind a
I
little
didn't
bit of
hear you
opening
correctly.
narration. If it's used right, I think this film needs it. Like, if this didn't have the opening narration, you'd be confused as fuck.
Oh yeah, no, extremely.
It's kind of like, I remember I had the same thing. I had the same thing when me and my dad went to see Sinners. We got tickets for the wrong showing, so we went into the movie and it was already like 5 minutes in, so we went out and we got tickets for the right showing, and we actually got. And I was like, it was a really good thing we did that because the opening narration to that film is pretty important for stuff that happens later.
Yeah.
It's a I don't know if you've seen that movie, but the opening narration's
Probably not.
pretty important. You kind of need it for a big reveal later on. And it's a really
Never
good
be late to your movies.
Oh God, it wasn't even our fault. The guy at the desk, he gave us the tickets for the wrong showing. I guess that was kind of down to us not giving the time, but I don't know why you would give somebody tickets to a movie that had already started. Whatever. I have a lot of weird theater experiences like that. Like I told you that. Did I tell you that? I've told you the story about what happened when I saw Bring Her Back, right?
No, I don't think so.
I think I did, but I'll tell the story just for the sake of. It's a very funny story, and it's a fun thing to tell on the podcast. When I got out of Bring Her Back, which is one of the movies I talked about earlier, intense, very scary horror film, I got out, and a dude in a shawl who looked really disheveled walked up to me and was like, "Hey, man, can you help me out?" My dad went to the bathroom, went to go use the bathroom. I was just by myself waiting for him. And this guy walks up to me and is like, "Hey, man, can you help me out?" And he tells me that he walked out of his movie to go to the bathroom, and now he can't remember which movie theater he was in where his friend is because he is having a horrible acid trip right now. He has dropped some
I remember
mad
this
shit.
story.
He dropped some mad shit, and he was like, "Can you help me?
Oh my God.
Can you help me find my friend?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." His name was Sasha. If you're watching this, Sasha, shout out. I hope you're doing good, man. He was.
I hope you're doing better.
He was a really nice guy. He was just really high. He offered me drugs if I could help him find his friend, which I politely declined because if I'm gonna get high,
As you should.
well, no, I mean, get drugs if you want. I just don't want psychedelics.
Just don't take shit from strangers. That's drug rule number one.
I
Don't
think
take
he
shit
was
from strangers.
offering me. I don't remember if he was offering me LSD or weed or what, but like, he was offering me something.
You don't know what's laced in that shit. Fuck that.
Yeah, but no, I helped him out a little bit. We went to a couple different theaters. He ended up just saying I'll find him on my own, and we left. But I hope Sasha's doing good. He was a nice dude. Apparently, he said he was from Russia, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Do I have any listeners from Russia? No. Okay,
Shout
but I
out.
actually do have a question for you.
Yes.
Because I remember I wanted to ask you this question before we got into today's call. Mentioned this a little while ago to you, too, because I thought it was funny. Did your dad have anything to say about the film?
Mostly what I said. He said he thought the production values were really good, but that it needed some trimming down. Neither of us really vibed too much with the ending, and especially a lot of the, like, oh, this is just impossible to see anything. That is probably my biggest point against the film, in all honesty. I think it's, for the most part, I think it was pretty good. I think there's, your little foibles here and there that bugged me. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this to my dad at all, but one thing that did bug me in like a funny way was the scene when he comes up from the depths and he's talking to Ava through the porthole. There's one thing that really bothered me about that scene. Speak up! There's no microphone. There's no like microphone filter on anything. That's a thick piece of glass. She's not going to hear you if you're mumbling. Speak up!
Oh, yeah. No, that would be fair.
Speak
That
up!
would definitely be fair.
Quit mumbling!
There was actually, speaking of audio, fun fact, here's where my audio engineer ears come in. So in theaters, they typically have like around 7 speakers in each theater. And Mark's explained this a little bit. So there was actually a lot of issues that was happening with audio where people couldn't understand what was happening. A lot of the voiceover lines were totally kerfuckled. You just couldn't hear what anyone was saying. And it was actually because some theaters only had like the 6 speakers in comparison to the 7 speakers.
Oh,
and
that's...
some of the mixes were also really because of... and some of the mixes that were sent there, probably they weren't tested beforehand. So there's a lot of things that can go into mixing with like surround sound and such.
Yeah, depending on like which speaker is supposed to be active. That's actually something that I've had with music sometimes, where some music, and sometimes shows and stuff, where if I'm watching it through my headphones and it's in stereo and something's supposed to come out of just the, like I remember I had this once where I was talking to a friend of mine in person and we were listening to music at the same time. I was listening with like one headphone off so I could hear him talk, and part of the song was mixed to only come out of one ear, so it sounded like it just cut off for a second, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I realized, like, I just rolled it back and listened to it with both earphones, and I was like, oh, that's what's happening. It's playing through the earphone that's not on my head. That's it's a pretty common thing that most people don't recognize.
Because a lot of people were just complaining about the fact that over the speaker you couldn't really hear what was going on a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, some of that was just intentional, like the cutting out.
Some of it was intentional, yes. But Mark said initially it was intentional to be Mark said it was intentional when you weren't supposed to hear what the characters were saying. You were like, you know how during the beginning of it when Ava was
yeah, when
like
she's
that?
cutting out. Yeah, that's clearly intentional.
Yeah. It's supposed to be intentional cutting out. You're supposed to hear every single line of dialogue fairly clearly. Besides when it's like really mumble jumbled and stuff. As well as with the 7 speaker system, because Send Help was in the theaters at the same time, they got like the better theaters, like the XD ones.
Yeah, I did not have an option to even see this in like the Cinema 4D or XL or whatever.
Yeah, no one. Rarely any theaters got like the really big production theaters. So a lot of Iron Lungs seating was put into the lower ones with only the 6 speakers instead of the 7. So that's really that's a fun fact corner with Vexen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if that hindered my viewing of it at all. I have no idea.
It definitely hindered mine because I was unfortunate enough to land in a theater that I found out afterwards only had 6 of the speakers, because it was very, very hard to discern a lot of the lines that Elsie was trying to say, especially when she was voicing the creature more than the actual SM8 researcher.
Yeah, that was a big problem for mine as well. It was hard to tell what they were saying sometimes. But I feel like some of that was less down to speakers and more just that it was, like, especially when she's yelling at the end. My dad made the comment that it sounded a little like Galadriel from that one scene in Lord of the Rings when she, like, freaks out over the ring for a second. It had, like, the same vocal...
Let me see.
It had the same vocal
if
filter
I
on
can
it.
Find it.
Are you looking for that? What are you looking for that scene in Lord of the Rings?
No, I'm looking for a specific line. Elsie posted a video of herself screaming Simon into the microphone.
That was one thing I thought was interesting about it, actually, was what did you think of the, like, attempting a backstory for the character of Simon? Because I was kind of wondering if they would go down the route of him being a real, what's the term? Like a real character with an important backstory, or if they would kind of try and make him more of a relatable everyman who's just kind of here because of shit that happened to him. And I kind of wondered if that was really the right choice, because I think in some ways it might have worked better for the scares if he was more of an intentionally blank slate in a way for people to kind of project onto and think, what if it was me in this situation? But then he turns out to be a lot more important and have more of a, you know, the butcher or whatever, you know.
I think it was good because it is a part. I think it was a good decision because it was actually part of the lore of the game. The SM8 is originally like a little submarine that you can find out there on its own. And it's supposed to be a little like Easter egg sort of thing.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to find it in the game. It's like you kind of have to break it a little bit.
Yeah, kind of the way Simon actually does. He goes off the map and stuff.
And you have to... It adds a lot more. And I feel like if we had a character with a blank slate, I feel like the movie would have so much less to fight for. Because there's a character with no motivation, no longing, no nothing to get out.
I don't think that's true at all.
I
think
mean, obviously, you could give the character the motivation to get out, but
yeah,
I feel like,
that's a very relatable
especially
motivation.
since the movie, with the movie being as much of a slow burn as it is, I feel like Simon is needed in order for it to be something like this, because then it really locks you in to Simon's downfall in that isolation chamber of a Pringles can. And I don't know. I feel like it took me in, and I was I was able to separate Mark from Simon pretty well.
I mean, yeah, I don't really think that was an issue for me. I think the problem that I have is I don't really feel like finding out more about, like, I feel like it would have worked better if you delved into him a bit deeper, and because they do a little bit of talking about his past and the destruction of Filament Station that he claims was not his fault, and it seems to be generally the case that he wanted to back out of whatever his brothers were doing. And there's an interesting idea there about him feeling very betrayed by everybody, and it's actually, I think, a compelling plotline and point of character development that this character feels like he was very betrayed by his former brothers, and now he feels even more betrayed by the people on the radio telling him that he can be free when they're actually lying to him, and they have no intention of letting him go, and they've been lying to him about him being the first person down there. I think there's an interesting aspect of paranoia that I think the film could have benefited from exploring a little bit more, and I think it also would have been interesting to speculate or explore a little bit more of why he backed out of, or why he felt that it wasn't necessary to do what they did on Filament Station, because they have this kind of narration at one point of one of the other characters saying, like, you have the highest body count of anybody, you know, Simon the Butcher, you know, and this whole idea that that he was at one point this incredibly violent and dangerous individual who at some point, for some reason that we don't understand, decided that he didn't want to be like that anymore and had some kind of change of heart before the events of the film. And I think that could have been something to really explore, and it could really change your perspective on Simon as it goes, especially if they played more into the idea of him being a convict at the start. I think there's a very interesting idea I think they could have gone down, which is trying to make you kind of dislike Simon at the start of the film and making him come off like somebody who maybe is kind of a monster and was maybe there, you know, maybe being put in here for a good reason. And then maybe your perspective on him changes as you find out more about him. But as it stands, the film doesn't really do that all that much. It kind of just gives you a bit of more of a reason to maybe care about him as it goes on. But I think there could have been a lot more done with that character in terms of development. I think if they were going to make him not a complete basic slate for people to project onto, I think they should have done a little bit more with exploring him as a person and what made him change, and especially what got him down here and how he feels about those events. But it's so vague.
Yeah, I can't agree with the vagueness. But I will say that a lot of the context is unfortunately lost because of how fast the backstory kind of happens.
Yeah, that's kind of the point that I'm making, is that I don't think that should have been as fast as it was. I think we should have explored that a little more. And I get why they don't, because that would require it could potentially require a lot of flashbacking and taking you out of the Pringles can. But I feel like I think this could have really benefited from expanding on him a little bit more, but I think they didn't, because either you could do it in this form of maybe more of an expositionary monologue from Mark himself, but maybe they just didn't want to go down that route. I don't know. I think it could work if they wanted it to, but that's not the story they decided to tell with it, and I think that's a little disappointing. But
Like, I was kind of barely able to catch that Simon's little crew was the one that destroyed the last tree. And
Is that what it was?
yeah, they destroyed the last tree.
I thought he was like a former member of like Eden or whatever, and that their whole thing was believing it. Wasn't there the whole thing like they're believing in the last tree or whatever?
Yeah, they believed in the last tree because that was the last tree that was standing. And Simon's people destroyed the last tree.
Why?
Because they were, they didn't want to believe in Eden anymore.
Okay, yeah,
because they were tired of the religion.
That didn't come across to me, honestly.
It took a little bit of online research afterward, I'll be honest. That's why I think it really deserves a second watch. I think it's why I'm willing to give it a second watch through.
I think that's the sort of important information that should be evident on a first watch.
It really should. It took a second for me to understand, like, oh yeah, Simon's people destroyed the second tree. Well, because they destroyed, I can't remember what the actual name of where the tree was.
Was that Filament Station? I mean,
I think it was Filament Station. Filament Station was where the tree was.
There's a lot of world building here that's just too vague for me to expand on it properly.
Yeah, the world building isn't the greatest, but I feel like as a movie, as a solo movie that focuses on a character who is going through a shit ton of bullshit and is isolated and is slowly dying, we basically get to watch this man's last 24 hours in a Pringles can. And
it's more than 24
we get to
hours.
watch him go insane.
It's more than 24 hours. They mentioned at one point that he'd been lost contact for days. So
yeah,
he's down there for a while. Is not a good time. Not a good
You
time.
get my point.
Yeah,
though. You get my point.
It's the I think it's interesting, especially. I think it could have dealt. There's a lot of things I think it could have done differently.
Mm-hmm.
That I think could have been.
I still think it's kind of solid, honestly.
I think it's mostly
still
solid.
Enjoying to watch.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I think
I
it
still
was.
love it so much.
I think it was pretty okay. I think it was as a horror film. I think it's not the best. I think I've seen plenty of films that have done. I can understand. I think it's an interesting challenge, especially as a horror film, because I mentioned this to you before that it's very similar to something that the original Saw was trying to do, of an entire horror film that takes place in one room, one isolated room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this necessarily pulls that idea off as well as it necessarily could have, but it does a decent job at what it's trying to do, and it mostly works. I think there's a really great version of this that, with some tweaks, could have existed, and what we got is fine, but ultimately does kind of have its fair share of problems. Not to say that it's terrible, but that it's good, but it could have been better.
Yeah. I will say, the one part that really fucking squigged me out was the part where he was pulling off the bandages off of his arms, and the sounds. Ugh. That squigged me out. That actually almost made Vincent leave the theater.
Really? Yeah,
he gets really squigged out with, like, blood and
I can't imagine how he felt about the ending. Jesus.
Oh, yeah, no. I warned him beforehand, and then I treated him to some hot cocoa when we got home. Don't worry. I took very good care of him.
Yeah, I was just thinking of, my dad made the comment because we've been watching Bob's Burgers a lot recently, and there's a couple episodes of that focus on Bob seeing blood and passing out. There's an episode entirely focused on that, him cutting into his hand accidentally and just bleeding everywhere and immediately passing out when he sees the blood.
Oh, God.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. No, that's...
At least...
That's a story for another time.
Yeah, I can understand that. Nothing really got me in this. Nothing really scared me. But that's
I think it was...
I think that's for the most part fairly par for the course for me. I'm pretty resilient when it comes...
Desensitized?
I'm fairly fine with gore. It doesn't. Some of it bothers me. Sometimes Like I said, going back to Bring Her Back, there's a couple of bits in that with the practical gore effects that really made me go, oh. Like, there was a couple points during that movie where I really did have to look away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid's...
Like, I didn't look away, but the peeling back of the bandages and the bumps on his arm.
Yeah, Bring Her Back has something semi-similar to that got me really... There's, for those of you who have seen Bring Her Back, that feeding frenzy was crazy. Holy shit.
I'm gonna pretend like I know what you're talking about. Oh my god, that's insane.
Basically...
Oh no, nope.
Guy eats a countertop.
No. Is this gonna end up on someone's, like, r/?
No.
This is my weird fetish.
No, I mean, like, kid close up biting into the wood of a countertop.
Gross.
Yeah, it among other things, it is very nasty, and oh my god, it is a really intensely disgusting movie in places. That isn't the bit that made me jump out of my skin, though. That's a, whew. Ugh. There's a couple moments in that are pretty hard to watch, but anyway, that should be it for our thoughts on Iron Lung, among other things that we randomly went to here and there.
10 out of 10 would watch again.
Are we doing scores?
No, I was just trying to be funny.
6 out of 10. It was okay.
All right.
Pretty middle of the road.
Well, who's doing the outro this time? Is it you again? Are you doing outros?
I guess I did the intro. I do the intros and outros. I edit the things. I can whatever. Thank you all very much for watching the Not in Harmony podcast, and make sure to follow us on Twitch and YouTube and subscribe for more, and leave us questions down in the comments, because this episode is once again recorded before a lot of others have gone up, so eventually we'll have a question section at the end if we get comments for that. Send them in.
Yeah.
Send them in, and we'll say things about them.
Please.
Don't
Please
e-beg.
send them in.
Don't e-beg now.
Nah, I won't.
Please send us things to talk about on the podcast.
Oh my god.
All right. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode where we talk about something else. I don't even know what we're going to talk about next time.
I don't know yet either, but it'll be something, because if Iron Lung is cool, then we'll definitely find something else cool to talk about.
Hell yeah.